Hi, it is first time that I even don't have working title for this video, but let's go, we'll see where it goes. So, I want to cover few subjects. Let's say the first thing just tell why when we have the pain on any part of our body, let's say on the shoulder, we put the hand. We put the hand or like this or like this. I don't think that it is superstition because it is almost reflex. And also animals, dog, cats and other animals, their their licks them wounds. Because I told you that tapping on the electric insulator create parametric oscillator, in this case capacitor, because here is insulator. So, but touching the skin directly is small discharge, short discharge, but there was voltage difference. Maybe you saw the cat or the dogs, then when they are, let's say, first time when I have puppy dogs, that he was playing with some plastic plate and there was arcs between few parts of his fur. So, so this means that we do not have uniform charge. We have differences in charge on our body. So, but when we touch, then we discharge and holding then electrical sense makes no sense. Makes no sense. So, but this one makes sense. But on the skin, but better if there is a maybe or just waving, like similar. I heard for that, but never practice, never watch too much hand waving healing. But if I talk like this, for me it makes sense. But like this, it's too slow. But maybe it should be slow. I don't know. So it is the one part that maybe it is that or what we call orgone energy making dynamic. When I said orgone energy, first time for orgone energy I heard 2010 from George Weissman from Eagle Research, Canada. He then told me that he's going with, actually through email, that he's going together with his wife Tanash to Australia. By the way, she passed away years after, and she was really, really good person from my opinion. So she was really nice person. And back to subject, and he told me there is touristic reason, but also to about orgone energy, to talk with people over there about orgone energy, which I never heard before. And I asked what is the orgone energy, and he informed me some short briefing, and I didn't get it. After I tried to read alone, I didn't get it either. So okay, but by the time, because it's completely not my territory, that's why I'm saying this, and that's why I wasn't interested. Uh, so, but what makes me to think about energy is actually my work with high voltage AC DC, which was very intense from 2006, 2007, and 2008. Very intense. But I needed to stop that work because working with, when I said high voltage, I'm talking about 500,000 maximum that I was working, from 20, 30,000 to 500,000. Uh, and when you work with that high voltage, then it's too much ozone like side production. And it was very aggressive for my throat, for my breathing, and with healthy reason, I needed to stop. I still have consequences, a dry throat, and okay, that's my problem. So, and during that period, I was witnesses for many extremely strange things that in high field ambient and when it's dynamic as well, uh, something so-called semi-paranormal or paranormal things happens that uh, what people call manifestation. What was manifestation in my mind? What was idea in my mind? Thought in my mind? Pulse in my mind? Happens, or suggestion to me happens. For this video, I will say something uh, about very extreme, which looks very maybe like something like orgone or something else. But now let's say maybe this is presentation of orgone. I work with in that for that experiment. Actually, it was side effect which has nothing to do with experiment which I conduct. I had experiment where I discovered that I can get higher and higher voltage for small capacitance in line of radiation from Tesla coil, whereas every next had higher voltage, and it is simulation what nature does during lightning. And I was focused on that, but I was not I didn't pay attention about things around because it's very high pulses. About meter away was capacitor with block capacitor. It is similar like this size, white plastic with two block capacitor, something similar to that. I mean, that capacitor you have in your washing machine for laundry. So, and if you see my experiments with tapping plastic and producing high voltage pulse is the same with that capacitor. If I will put capacitor on just one terminal tap on the white plastic, on LED will be flash. So that capacitor was bikes. That capacitor was 1 meter away from very powerful discharging of my Tesla coil. And that Tesla coil was half meter secondary tall, 110 millimeters diameter, so tall, tall and not small diameter, so which means that radiation is huge from that because of that geometry. That's why I used that one. And after several days of working, I heard during break when should be everything silent, I heard cracking sound from capacitor that the electric is on the stress that will conduct itself. And when I looking where it is, then I saw wow, because on that capacitor I had two diodes like my looping capacitor. Capacitors, you can find my video, but over here it was just one. And I knew that that capacitors actually was antenna for like Tesla patent in 1901 receiver for radiant energy, because that cracking sound told me that it's easy to beat 2000 volt minimum in 50 microfarads. I tried safely to discharge that capacitor because it's really danger, and it was very loud. It's very loud discharge, explosion. Something like people said I need to change underwear after. And then I try to measure the voltage what left in capacitor or change polarity because it was high voltage, that kind of explosive discharge. It's not is not rare to change polarity. And when I touch with probe of digital voltmeter, before that when I looked at capacitor, I felt something that, let's say it is that capacitor, something like that, something like is twisting. The same effect happens with electrostatic disc when it is on the high voltage but it's not working, or even if I have some very powerful neon magnets. So like that they are twist the space around them, or it is some stress on my eyes. I'm not competent to say this, but it was what I was, how it looked to me. When I approach, I put the probes on the terminals. Something white bluish. It's not sound like fog, but dense fog. Goes like worms, not mass that like worms, across the probe to my palms and on the way to my elbow. And I was scared and do something reflex like brush my hand, and it stopped, disappeared. And I was thinking, what was that? So then I said, oh, maybe it is what people call orgone. 2010, I made orgone accumulator, but for some completely different reason, even not for that one. So and as I said, many psychic things or semi paranormal thing happens when I work with high voltage, that kind of high voltage. And if you look, electrostatic discs, they are usually disc made by the electric, and above the electric, smaller diameter is conductive disc, and below the electric, I use many type of the electric, but below was the source of electric field, and it's spinning. We could say it's dynamic organ motor for followers for organ energy. But just to put one more thing here, Andrew Puharich, originally Andrija Puharich, from he was from Zagreb, Croatia, and he worked for American Army during Second World War. He was doctor in medicine, and he was after World War II in some project to find some substances to perhaps maybe like stimulants for soldiers, or originally it is for um, to help to people under surgery to go out of them body. And they found it is in the tradition of some ancient Egyptians and some tribe from Siberia. They used that in ancient time when anesthesia was not known, to give to surgery to go out of body and return when surgery is something like this. And he wrote the book Holy Mushroom. I read that book. I didn't know that is what. I read this by recommendation. And I trusted that guy who recommended. I read this book. I will emphasize, and they made so many tests, and I will emphasize two things that he wrote there. That one guy, volunteer, under receiving some medicine, experimenting, there just for one time he saw through the solid wall, and he saw what is in other room behind the wall. Second thing, what I emphasize here, that Andrew Puharich conducted tests with in some room where he one wall covered with metal plate on 50,000 volts or 40,000 volts, some in that range, DC, and grounded and connect with switch to be grounded or not grounded. And people who was tested in that room, they didn't know the purpose of that wall. They tested prediction what is the card. Let's say you are. I will test you. The plate will be under 50,000 volts. I will show you backside of card, and I said, what is the card? And so they make so many tests, and what he wrote there, how I remember, so tested they how to say predictions or positive results about this was about 50% higher when the plate was charged with 50,000 volts than without charge. So I'm slowly preparing you what I want to finish, how to finish this video. Now let's return back to tapping or whatever, something like this. Have so many water and we have skin, organic material, especially dry skin. So we are some kind orgone accumulator or some that we could concentrate in some situation in our palms energy and to radiate. Like I said, repeater. We receive also because we are with so many processes in our body. We could be also generators, not only receiver and repeater. Think about this, but also what I said that some manifestation happens when it's something came to my mind when I work with high voltage. There are so many, I have so many stories, but because I can't repeat them, even I can't repeat them for myself. It happens then. So what I want to say, maybe orgone energy is even higher level than we think. That it is not only energy, that it's also connected with conscience, subconscious. And I have one question for all of you to think. And if you have some ideas, put in comments. Very soon, not very soon, very recently, I found the qualifications of Wilhelm Reich team. Almost everybody was from psychology. No physics, no ordinary biology, no chemistry. All of them from psychology. Is it coincidence or is it connected? I don't know answer as you, but let me what you think. Thank you. Bye.